right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session on Microsoft 365 tips. I'm Daryl Campbell. I'm a consultant at Advantage Business Systems, and I'll be walking you through some practical tips and tricks in Microsoft 365. I'll be focusing on SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Teams channels. I'll try to keep things short and hands-on, showing you some examples as we go. Some of what I cover may be familiar to you, but my goal for today is that you leave with at least one new idea or shortcut that can help make you more efficient with Microsoft 365. I'll have a short Q&A or a Q&A session at the end where if you've got any questions, please use the question section in GoToWebinar, and yeah, I'll try to address the questions at the end. Alrighty, let's dive in. So SharePoint Online, people use it as just a pure document library storing files. There's more to it than that. So let's get started with that. So in Office 365, a lot of you'll be familiar with the SharePoint Online interface where you're storing your documents, files and folders. The first tip I want to show you is you might have a long list of files and folders or files within folders. For this example, I don't have many, but if you wanted to have a document that you're working on regularly, accessible a little bit more easier, instead of scrolling through the list every time, you can pin that document to the top. So you can pin maybe a document you access regularly, or perhaps you use a document as a template. Every time you open the same document and then you save a copy and you work on the copy for different reasons, you can pin it to the top of your document list. You can do the same with folders as well. So if you pin a folder to the top, it can be a little bit more easy accessible. The next tip that I want to show you is version history. So basically, you're working on a file. Things happen. You may make some changes that you later want to revert back to an older version of the file. Let's say you delete something in the file that you want to later have back in the file. Obviously, if you close it, you're not going to have those changes available anymore to undo. So you've got the version history in a file as well. So if you click on the three dots next to the file, all the options over here on the menu that pops up is the same as on the top of the top menu over there. But if you go to version history, you can actually see all the different times that you've edited that file. So let's say I want to revert back to something I did a little bit earlier. We can select the drop down and just click restore over there. Now it's going to put it's about to replace the current version of the file. However, the current version will still remain in your version history. So if I say OK, it should make the previous version 13, version 15. So if I click OK like that, there we go. So when I open the file again, previous edits are back there that I previously deleted. So that's quite useful. That's it's helped me as as an administrator as well, help users restore some of the work that they've maybe need to go back to. Right. Um, there's another option in the in SharePoint that you can set rules or alerts on files. So you can be alerted when a file's changed. You may have a document that a few of you are working on, and you want to be notified when a colleague has changed the document, for instance. Or you might have um, a automated workflow that automatically updates an Excel file with data every day or a few times a day, whatever the case is. You can set an alert when that file has changed. Currently, you've got the option for alerts or rules, and I see that alerts is falling away. So you're going to have to use the rules function on this. So you can go to automate, rules, and create a rule. I'll just show a quick example. There's a couple of different options, but we'll just say for the modified, when a file is modified, we'll just say always when it's modified, and you want to send an email to, you can say yourself or to whoever you want, and say the file has changed. Now, obviously I've done that already, but now when the file has changed, you'll get an email notified when the file has changed. So that's quite useful. And like I say, SharePoint is more than just a document library. There's the other side of it that a lot of companies use as an intranet type of system. This is like the default sort of homepage on one of the types of SharePoint sites that you get. But you can also customize this to however you want. So if you go into edit over here, some of the things that I'm showing today, just to note, some of the things your administrator may restrict you from being able to do. So you might not be able to change this homepage layout of SharePoint, but for the most part, you're able to do that. So I'm just going to click over here to see all web parts. And there's many things, as you can see, that you can add to this page. But I mean, I'm just going to use one example. I'm going to say use a countdown timer, and I want to put that right at the top of the page. So let's say, for instance, this is your accounts team, and you want to say month end is coming in a certain amount of days. So I'll just duplicate that by accident. So you can edit that, tell it when you want the month end. We'll say the last Friday over there. And it's in 21 days. Right, so everyone knows that you've got 21 days till month end. That's just one example. There's many different things that you can do with these web parts on your SharePoint homepage. Right, so that brings me to what I had done for SharePoint. If we move on to the next one, which is OneDrive for Business. Again, I'm going to just go back to the online version. I don't want to bore you with SharePoint slides, but right. So OneDrive for Business is your personal cloud workspace, obviously packed with features. On a technical level, it's built on the same sort of infrastructure or same technology as SharePoint. So a lot of the features are similar. There's some that's for one and not the other. Within OneDrive for Business, you've got the OneDrive application, which allows you to sync files to your computer and work on them in File Explorer. So let me just show you. You've got your File Explorer. I've synced this test tenant that I've got here. I've synced my OneDrive to my computer. And you can see, the first thing I want to talk about is files on demand. So at the moment, when you sync all your files to your computer, you've got everything available to you if you're online. So as long as you've got internet connection, you can open a file. As soon as you open it, then it downloads the file to your computer and it's available to you to work on. So if I show you the status in the status column over here, you can see the different icons. This one over here will tell me that it's available when you're offline. So because it's downloaded to my computer, it doesn't matter if I've got internet or not, I can open that file again. The one with the little blue cloud over there, it's not available offline. So I will need to download that to my computer if I wanted to work on it. If I don't have internet, for instance, traveling, something like that. You can do that. You can say, if I right click on it, you can say, always keep on this device. If it does it, then it will download it and you'll be able to have that document again. Now, obviously, every time you're opening a file, it's downloading data onto your computer. If you don't have a very big hard drive, that sort of adds up, and you may want to clear that space off. You can do that. Also, again, right-clicking on the file and saying free up space. So what that does is it takes the copy off your computer. It leaves it online, so it's still stored in your OneDrive or in SharePoint. If you sync in a SharePoint file, it's the same thing. It still leaves it in the cloud, but it's now off your computer. You can do it on files or folders, same thing. You can say, always keep on this device or free up space if you want to do that with specific folders. Now, OneDrive itself, the application, has the same features or the same ability to do that. So if you open your OneDrive app, you go to settings, under advanced settings, you can see now it says free up disk space. So that will take off all the files that you've synced to your computer and just make it available in the cloud. Or you might want to download all the files so everything's available to you if you are traveling and you don't have internet access everywhere. Another useful thing to note on OneDrive, same thing on SharePoint, but you might want to share a file or a folder with someone. I'll go ahead and do that here. We'll say I want to share that file. It's always a good idea to check the settings on your sharing before you share it with someone. So we're going to create a link for this file, but I'm going to check the settings first. And very important to note that if you leave it the setting on everyone, that means anyone on the internet that gets this link is going to have access to this document. It's probably a very bad idea to leave it on that. I like suggesting that you leave the setting people you choose. So that means whoever you specify to have access to this will have access to it, and not just anyone. Other things you can change is you can let them edit, review, they can only view, or you can set that they can view it but not download the file. So that, I mean, personal preference, whatever is relevant to you. But nice feature now that we've got is you can set the expiration date on this sharing link that you've created. So you might want them to have access until Monday. I'm going to click apply, and then you share it. I'm just going to use an account that we've got created internally here. And if you copy the link, that's obviously going to create the link now. And only Vicky Waterfield is able to access that file. So very important, just remember the permission settings, and also you can use that expiration date, which is quite handy now. And obviously after that date, Vicky Waterfield won't be able to access this file. Right. The other thing that I can show you, which is very useful in OneDrive for Business, or OneDrive, shall I say, is the backup of your known folders. So desktop, documents, and pictures. Let me just get an example here quickly. So again, in the settings, I go manage backup. Obviously, I've got another account that's backing up my documents, pictures, and desktop. So you can only have that backed up to one OneDrive at a time, but you can turn that on, and wherever else you sign into OneDrive, you'll have your documents, pictures, and desktop available to you. That's a nice feature. And another thing I can show you on OneDrive, it's on the web version. Let me just open the web version. Is you can restore. We were talking about restoring files to a previous version. You can restore your entire OneDrive to a previous date. Obviously, proceed with caution, because this is not a scenario you use very often. But if you go to the settings of your OneDrive, you can say restore your OneDrive. Now, I've been using OneDrive for a long time, and I've only recently known that you could do your whole OneDrive to a previous date. So if you wanted to, you can restore it to 1 week ago, or choose a custom date. You can see the different things that you've been doing. Now, what happens if you restore it to 1 week ago? Any files that you've been working on in the previous week, those will be restored, or sorry, those will be sent to your recycle bin. So if you need one of those files, again, you'll be able to get out of your recycle bin. Could be very useful for ransomware scenarios where your files have been encrypted and you want to go back to a version of before they've been encrypted. That's one sort of one use case for that. Okay. Yeah. So next thing we're going to talk about, or I'll show you some things, is team channels. And for that, let me bring up the Teams Online that I've got here. Many of the features are the same between, actually most of the features are the same between the online version of Teams and Outlook and that nowadays, and the desktop version. Right, so what I want to show you are the different channels and permissions in the channels. So you've got, I've got two different channels that I've created here, one for the presentations and another one for company comms. Both of them are public channels, so anyone in the company can join that and has access to these channels. And within the channel, within the teams, we've got the different channels. Both the teams are public teams, and in, let's say, for instance, the company comms team, I've got 3 channels. 2 of them are public channels and 1 is a private channel. And you can set whoever you want to have access to that private channel if you are the owner of that team. So in Teams, each channel has a folder in SharePoint. So if you're sharing files within the channel, each channel has a folder in SharePoint, while private channels get their own SharePoint sites. So it's good to know that there's different permission levels. If you share a document, like I've shared a document in the general channel over here, I've shared a document in the email migration channel, and also one in the management channel. I'll show you what I mean by the permissions. So if we go to files over here, you can see only the file for the email migration. Same in general. If I go files, you can see only the general file that I've saved there. If I click on documents, those folders are the two channels that I've created there, the public channels. If I go have a look here in channels, there's the management channel. But if someone doesn't have access to that management channel, they won't be able to see the documents in there. So again, let me show just to further explain. We can open that in SharePoint. It's going to look very similar, but more in the SharePoint setting. And if someone doesn't have access to this management channel, they won't be able to see those documents. So I go in there, that's completely separate to where all the other documents are showed or stored, sorry. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult to show if I'm one user, you can't see that someone else doesn't have access to it, but because I've got access to it. Yeah, that's just showing you there's a difference between private channels and public channels with regards to access of the files. Right, so let's go back into Teams channels. One thing that I can show you if you want to have a look at the top, you've got the different tabs. So we've got posts, files, notes. You can add more tabs. So let's say there's something, a document that you want to collaborate on, that you work a lot on in specific use case. You've created a channel for that. You can use document or Word, sorry, and as long as the Word's accessible to the channel members, you can open that, and then that will be available to everyone who's a member of the channel. You know, obviously, you can do other things, Word, Excel, Visio, documents. You can put websites. There's many other things that you can have a look through and see what else you can do on that. And like, for instance, I've done this already in the email migration one and got some notes over here. The other thing I want to show you is that you can, in documents, you can also @mention people. So there is very similar to your social media type of applications where you mention people, tag people. You can do it in documents as well. So if I want to tag my colleague Vicky, she will be notified by email, and also I think in her activities in Teams, that she's been tagged in a specific document. So that's quite useful when you're collaborating on files and mentioning people. Also, what you can do is you've got the comments feature on these documents. So you can do this in Excel or any other Word, Microsoft document. You might want to put a new comment in here and say, I was thinking of Vicky. And then again, Vicky will be tagged in that comment that I've made on the file. So when she opens it, when Vicky opens the file, she'll be able to see the different comments on the different elements of the file. Vicky can then come along and then she can obviously like it, or she can say resolved. So she started working on the document, or whatever she had to action, she can say it's resolved. Yeah, there we go. That's one more feature of, we say, SharePoint. It's all integrated together. It's the documents, SharePoint, Teams channels. Yeah, it's the mentions and the comments. And then, like I mentioned, you've got the different tabs at the top where you can put apps, but there's also general apps within Teams. So I just want to show you something quickly. You can add apps. There's many different apps that you can add. I'm not going to go through all of them, but many of them are external to um, the Microsoft environment. Your administrators may not approve that or allow it, that you're adding external applications in there. But one thing that I would like to maybe show you is the approvals app. So if I go into the approvals, you'll see that I had to click on the three dots over there to get to the approvals app. If it's something you used regularly, again, you can click on pin, and that will be pinned to the side over here. So you don't always have to go into view more apps and access the app that you're looking for. Approvals is a lightweight type of workflow. I'll just give you a quick example here. I might make a basic request. I regularly ask for a half day on a Friday, and you want to maybe include, or you'll need to include someone to approve it, and they will get the notification to approve that. And let me just see if I've got coming through. And then whoever needs to approve it can approve it or deny the request. I've got it on my other screen. I'll approve it quickly, and you can see that the workflow gets approved. You can use it for many other options as well, or many other use cases. And that is pretty much that for Teams. And that concludes my presentation. It was a quick 30-minute presentation of those subjects. If there's any questions, I'll hang around for the questions. But otherwise, thanks for joining us. We hope that you've picked up some tips that will help you and your team become more productive with Microsoft 365. We do offer more bespoke training. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch if you've got an account manager, or by going to, or getting in touch with info@Advantage. And yeah, thank you for your time. So let me see if we've got any questions that have come in. I've got a couple. Sorry, let me make it a bit bigger here. I have an issue with Teams on my mobile. It doesn't tag people when I use their name, or sometimes it does tag them, but the tag is lost after a second. Unless I send immediately, this is a common problem, and is there a fix? It does sound like something that could be a common problem, although I haven't come across that before. Just in my experience, the mobile app is generally the last application that's updated with features, so it could still be a little bit buggy. There's many variables, I think, to take into account on this type of problem. But yeah, like I say, that does sound like it could be a general issue on that. Okay, someone's asking about the slides. Yes, we can make that available to you afterwards. I think our marketing team will reach out to you after this after the webinar. Right. And also for the recording, there will be a recording. Okay, so someone's asked about giving tips when you work as an IT admin in an organization, like giving permission. We can help with that, but just for the purpose of today's exercise or today's webinar, that's not included. But again, like I say, if you want to reach out to the account manager or to info at Advantage, we can definitely set something up for that. Is web parts the same as having an intranet page? Yeah, so I would say that's the same thing. So if we go back to that's the web parts form part of the home page on your SharePoint. So yeah, I would say that is the same thing. In the approval app in Teams, is there an audit trail of approval? So for the person sending the approval and approving it, yes. From an administrator point of view, I'm actually not sure. That's a good question. I would imagine if virtually everything on 365 would be in a log or an audit trail somewhere. It's just how difficult it is to get to that. So there's probably not very easy to get to it, but yeah. With the approvals idea, can this be used for senior management approving company policies, for instance? It could be, but remember, it's also a lightweight type of feature. So it depends on your use case, really. That sounds a little bit more advanced, maybe that you want to use something else for. Right. So I've just got to keep track of which question I'm getting to. In SharePoint, can I grant access to a client, to a specific client folder within OneDrive? Yes. So with the sharing link that I showed earlier, what I do is I've got one folder for sharing to clients. So, and then within that folder, I've got subfolders for each client, so it doesn't get mixed up. Let's say this is client A, client E, client C. Client A, you would only create a sharing link for client A. The one thing that I meant to mention in the presentation was well, I did touch on it, but your administrators might turn off the functionality to allow you to share externally to clients, or altogether. But yeah, I would keep it to a folder if you're going to be sharing a few documents. Right. We're going to go to the, yes, we're sending, our marketing team will be in touch for the slides and the recording. If I favorite a folder, how do I access favorites in SharePoint? So I'm not sure if you mean the same as accessing favorite or pinning a document. So if you favorite something, you can favorite the documents library, And then when you open, let's just go to SharePoint, you'll have a list of your following document libraries or sites that you're following over there. Don't know if that's perhaps what you're asking for. Okay. I don't have Teams app on my Teams desktop. Any ideas, or can I Google it? Installing Teams app on your desktop, pretty easy. I'll just show you quickly. That's just you can get the desktop app and then the download will be in there. What is the best way to transfer data from OneDrive to SharePoint, both separate account but on same laptop? If you've got it synced to your computer, in File Explorer, it's just a matter of copy and paste, really, if you've got access to both. Online, I can show you quickly if you want, but you can, let's just go to my files over here. If you wanted to, you could copy, not copy link, but you could copy to or move to, and then all the SharePoint that you've got access to, you can choose where you want it to copy to. And then you can say move here. There's a couple of ways to do it. What are the main differences between creating a team, then accessing via SharePoint versus creating a SharePoint site, then accessing it via Teams? The creating a team will automatically create a SharePoint site, but not vice versa. It won't automatically create a team via SharePoint if you're creating a SharePoint site. On that, as long as the people in the team have access to that SharePoint site, that perhaps just a standalone SharePoint site, then you can add the tab that I was showing you. Perhaps you can add up at the top. Is the option here? So I think if we go share, yeah, so you can add a SharePoint site or library to your team as well as a tab at the top if it's not part of this this channel or team that you're accessing there. If that makes sense. Can you password protect folders in SharePoint? Don't think the way that you're thinking of. Again, coming into permissions of files, that's also not really part of the scope of what we're talking about today, but in a way you can, it's not really password protecting it, but it's protecting it from people that shouldn't have access to it. That makes sense. Hopefully that sort of answers your question, but we can assist with that if you want. Instead of a sharing link, can I use the grant access tool as I would like the client to have access permanently to upload documents? Not familiar with the grant access tool. That if you want them to upload documents, you would have to give them access to a specific folder. I think that's perhaps what you mean, or if you can also give in Teams and channels, you can give access to an external person in the team, but that will, yeah, that'll make them a member of that team and sort of give them a user identity in your Office 365 environment. The grant access tool, like I say, I'm not too familiar with that. What is the difference in SharePoint between sharing link and granting access? Okay, I think that's the same question. And one more question. Can we send reminders / to-do task to a group of people on SharePoint? No, there's an app that I don't use personally, but there's the to-do app on 365 where you can have reminders sent, but that's not really part of SharePoint. I guess you can integrate that into specific documents or tagging certain documents on that. I see someone's got raised their hand. If you don't mind, could you put that question in the question section if you've still got a question? Back there. All right, but otherwise, I think that looks like it's the end of all the questions that I've got through. Hopefully, I've answered as much as I can. But like I say, if you have any other things that you want to chat to us about, reach out to info@advantage.co.uk. And thank you for your time. So if you're still there, I've still got one more question that's come in about the £70 per user fee. I think that's obviously per user for the session. It's dependable on what we're going to be doing. We can reach out again and discuss it further if you want.